Hello and welcome back to another episode of PK's War Room, the podcast where I've got a bad name for SEO, I think. And today I'm joined by a very special guest, someone who I've been trying to get on for a little while, and I have cancelled them at least twice because I'm a terrible person, friend and or colleague. I've got Jay from Eons of Battle. Hello!
Hello!
So,
what's happening?
As you might already be able to tell, we're going to have a slight delay here through the powers of the internet and my terrible British internet. So let's just jump straight into it. Okay, I was watching your Space Hulk video earlier. The resin tunnels and tubes and decking, it's incredible. Is that your latest project, or is that an old video for you now because you're living in the future of what you're making?
Yeah, for me, I'm living 6 months from now. It's kind of wild how hard we go on the Patreon. But the Space Hulk, that terrain was 5 months in the working, prototyping, designing, figuring out the art and design, direction, everything. Making sure it all fit together properly. It's a lot that goes into every single Patreon set.
Did you model it? Did you do the 3D modeling?
No. I'm, the art director, and then I work with another person to concept art, and then we come up with exactly what everything is going to look like, and then that goes off to a sculptor, and then the sculptor gives it back to us, and then we all take turns fixing all of the problems that we made ourselves, and then it eventually gets narrowed down into one perfect set of terrain.
I guess we can use that as a jump off point then to shill a little bit in a way. So firstly, if people don't know who you are, try and give us a elevated pitch of what you do. And then you mentioned the Patreon as well. So people might be like, who's this fucking guy and why is he talking about Patreon already? So give us the elevated pitches for those things.
Yeah, I'm Jay from Eons of Battle. I have a YouTube channel called Eons of Battle where we publish 3 wargaming videos a week every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 a.m. America time, Freedom time, and then in addition to that, we also have a Patreon, but it's not just a tip jar. You actually get, every single month, you get a new set of wargaming terrain that is made by wargamers for wargamers. Send help. You get a whole bunch if you go to the Patreon.
Sick. So for people who haven't seen your stuff, I'll also add on that you're what I would call a real hobby YouTuber, right? So I'm from the space where I play a lot. So card games and miniature games, I just play a lot, right? Where you are actually making full on videos with relatively high concept building, painting, kit bashing and shit. The sort of thing that I have tried to do in the past and steer away from because I'm so scared of moving cameras around my office and that sort of stuff. Or maybe I'm lazy. So you're a real hobby tuber in a way, right?
Yeah, a lot of painting, a lot of building. I game a lot, but not on the channel. I haven't figured that out yet, how to do a battle report.
Battle reports are nonsense. I think nonsense is not the right word. They're very hard to get right,
they are.
to get interesting, to get people to watch them.
We have tried to make some. We have test filmed things and watched them back, and it's always just... It's so ridiculously hard to make it entertaining and engaging.
The metagame, I'm going to use the metagame, the meta during COVID and post-COVID was to live stream your games. Have you considered that?
Yeah, but not... for me, I actually don't enjoy watching battle reports because I find it really hard to stay engaged on, what is he rolling? What's happening? What is the save? What's the characteristics? What are the opportunities? And so when the camera is, 8 feet that way, just looking at a board... Or if it's even they did a pretty good job and they got a top camera that's just about right, it's still really hard to I don't know, be eating my sandwich or doing whatever I'm doing and then glance up and be okay, orcs charging into, I don't know what that squad is, I give up.
I guess there's a few innovators in that space. So obviously Play on Tabletop are the gold standard. They're the game nights of Warhammer and their stuff is insane.
Play on Tabletop is really good. Have you seen Tabletop Time a couple of months ago put out a battle report where they actually 3D scanned both armies and their terrain? And so it was kind of, in my opinion, the only negative of, it was a perfect battle report. In my opinion, the only negative was cutting from the beautiful 3D render animation footage to two nerds talking about how the game's going. If it was only in that digital space, I actually think it would have been super sick because the models look beautiful, the terrain looks beautiful, the lighting is perfect.
I will check that out because I always wanted to make battle reports and I made a couple on the channel, but they took so much time and energy to make that I was like, I can't keep doing these unless they get really good numbers. That sounds so fickle and so business minded. But the truth be told is we only have so much time as content creators, right? So you have to do the stuff that brings in the numbers in a way. And I played on TTS. I've streamed Tabletop Simulator because I play a lot on Tabletop Simulator. But again, the end user experience is kind of dog shit because TTS does look like you know, you're playing on a PS1 almost. Well, it's not quite like that, but so it's interesting.
Yeah, and it's also like what videos are fun to make, because I have fun painting. You're doing a painting video where I'm just paint, turn on the camera, paint, say something to the camera. But
sure.
A battle report, filming that is a lot of hurry up and wait. Okay, I'm moving here. All right, can you move it back to where it started? Okay, the camera's focused. Okay, move it into position. All right, do that one more time because the camera didn't focus properly. All right, here we go. Boom. Like, the game takes 5 hours. It was no fun because we were more focused on the videography than the actual gameplay.
Yeah, and or you'll do a thing where like you think you've nailed it on your setup, and then it turns out that a certain portion is just not it's usable, but it's not what you want it to be. So for example, when I did my first battle report, all of the initial shots of the army were really good. I had like a macro lens on from a good distance, and I had a good depth of field. I had a little Lazy Susan spinning and units and shit. Then we got around to like playing, and I didn't have a stabilization on, so like it just didn't feel right. I was like, oh fuck, that content. And when looking at either of us, it was fine, but looking at the board, it wasn't. And it's a lot. It's a lot. So to get it right is very hard.
And then like in terms of lighting, because you know I have everything perfect for filming a normal one of my painting videos, but for a battle report, people need to be lit very differently than miniatures. Miniatures need ungodly amounts of light dumped on them, but that makes humans look like scary monsters. So it's like, do we have one set for the people that we turn on and off, and one set for the miniatures that we turn on and off, and then like work lights for the few seconds we actually get to play this game?
Yeah, like, and it's also when I was lighting for the battle reports that we did, it was like what's the word I'm looking for? Uncomfortable. Like in the room, it wasn't hot, but like because I was shooting these lights like probably twice what they're at right now. Oh no, I've got these really high. I look fine. It's fine. But like I was shooting the room full of like 3 key lights, like full lighting, and I was just like bloody. About 2 hours in of playing Warhammer, it's already like a headache-inducing game almost. And I was like, this is uncomfortable. I'm not really enjoying the gameplay aspect in a way. Battle reports are hard. The other flip of the meta was the streaming bit, like I said, where you turn it into second monitor content, where you're hanging out with them for like 2.5, 3 hours. That's like tabletop Titans did it really well. Right, they were the ones who redefined that space, and now everyone copycatted that. Same camera setups, same background, same attitude, same attempt to like get people to the super chat and shit. But that's not your thing. You don't want to live stream a game and spend 3 hours talking to chat.
I used to live stream constantly painting. I used to live stream every single night for 2 hours. Ooh. It was so much fun, but it was so much work. And
did you get any painting done?
Tons. I actually got really good at it. Because, you know, brushstroke, look at the chat, brushstroke, look at the chat. Like, that works really well. I actually found building didn't work at all. Because building, you might be focused on, like, a longer technique or a longer just bit of work to do. And so it's harder to keep up with the chat. And then I also had Nick with me, so he would also jump in and read chat comments while if I'm ever have my head down.
Yeah,
that worked really well, but it just added, like, 10 extra hours of work onto our week.
Yeah. Do you stream at the moment? Do you stream the Headshot talk show?
No, that's just pre-recorded.
Oh, interesting. Did you ever stream that?
In front of a live studio audience. Yeah, we streamed for 3 months on Twitch, just more painting content in like the afternoons.
Okay.
People that was also fun, but it's just hard to do. Why are you guys talking
about content? We don't give a shit about this, and we're content creators, so that stuff's like more interesting to us, I guess. So back to the original question before we go into the weeds about streaming and battle reports. What are you hobbying with now then? If the Space Hulk was 5 months ago.
I'd actually just knocked it out a couple of weeks ago, but the process of the whole project has been months and months and months. I've just been going hard on my 40k armies. I want to get into competitive 40k. Ooh. I don't know why, but I do. And so I've been working a ton on my Space Marines, my Tyranid, my Death Guard in theory. I also have a pipe dream of starting a Sisters army, and AOS 4th edition just came out, so I'm full.
Okay, so
hobby.
that is a question we're going to cover more in the second half of this podcast. But so you're excited for AOS 4?
I feel like I feel like I'm not excited because my plate is so full, but I should be. Right. I bought Age of Sigmar 3rd edition. I got the Dominion box, got it all built, got it all painted, played a game of it, really had a good time. Some things I liked more than 40k, some things I didn't fully grasp, like the whole magic thing. But I would love to get into Age of Sigmar because some of those armies I absolutely love. Kharadron Overlords, the Sylvaneth. I want to love the Stormcast Eternals. I feel like the Stormcast Eternals keep getting better and better and better. Like the new sculpts are objectively the best they have ever looked.
Absolutely.
But I feel like still nobody cares because they're just Space Marines.
Yeah, because like I actually find the old sculpts like really off-putting because of like they're chunky. I don't really like the iconography. I don't like the weird porcelain faces on the shields and the stupid comet stuff. Like none of it really resonates. It's like derpier Space Marines. Like
I think Games Workshop really missed a tick. Because the lore of Stormcast is so cool.
Yeah.
The most legendary badass warriors, on the moment where they're overrun and they're killed, their soul is sucked away and put into angelic golden forms. But it's only humans. Like, if there were also, like, Stormcast ogres and Seraphon and tree men or the Sylvaneth, like, if every different race in the Aish universe was seen in Stormcast, that would be so cool. Even some of the bad ones, like Stormcast Skaven, Stormcast, maybe even demons. I don't know exactly how demons work in the Age of Sigmar universe.
I think demons might be a push because they're like, again, I don't understand the ins and outs
they don't
of
have
how
souls.
Work, but no, that's exactly something that I was talking about on stream. So basically, when I'm doing Magic streams, people get probably a bit frustrated because people ask me Warhammer questions and I get really in the weeds about Warhammer. And I was saying the other day that you could just build those things, you can kit bash those things. People are like, well, that's not lore accurate. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, it'd be really cool if you had Skaven men in golden armor, like doing the cool stuff. But yes, actual official support would be very cool. But we see GW shy away from that stuff a lot, don't we? Like the auxiliaries for Tau, there's like 20 plus years they could have made new ones or made human ones or anything, right? And they just don't want to do that kind of exploration.
Are Vespids still in the game?
I believe so. They're due an update, right? Because the models are like 25 years old or something. Like,
yeah, they're still fine cast, which means don't buy them.
Awful shit.
They're also 20 years old, so it's like maybe don't buy them because they might get dropped from the game.
That is true. I mean, with 40k, wow, they tend to update all the sculpts for the alien shit, right? It's very rare they squat an alien thing. If you're playing Marines, your stuff's getting squatted all over the shop now because they're squatting bikes, and I don't know if you know, but I'm very angry about the squatting of firstborn dreadnoughts. Like, it's just a thing that I don't believe should ever be removed from the game because they're so fucking iconic. Same with land speeders. I watched your video where you made the Black Templar land speeders with the cool terrain bases and shit. And now they're not playable.
I finally like them and they're gone.
What the fuck?
I finally like them and they're gone from the game, and it's maybe that's And I really don't like the new ones. I like most of the new Primera stuff. I really don't like the new Storm Speeders. They're boxes.
Yeah. I forgot they even exist because they've had bad rules for so long. But what are they called? Storm Lancers, right, or something?
They're Storm something.
Storm
the
Speeders.
Old ones were Storm Speeders.
Yeah, they suck. They're also huge. This is the other thing. Like, I don't mind them being big, but if you're going to swap Firstborn Dreads, Bikes, and Land Speeders, I like the idea of playing the old models as like proxies for the new one. That's kind of what you can do in AOS right now. Like, they squatted Liberators and Prosecutors from the Stormcast line, and then literally a week later announced them again. It's like, so you just added more fuel to the fire that you're ruining everyone's day, when in reality all you're doing is resculpting them and you can use the old ones. Anyway, but when it comes to the Firstborn shit, it's all like tiny, half the size, like, yeah.
Yeah, an old Dreadnought on a 100mm Redemptor base would not really work.
I might have to build one where I build it up to be the height of a Redemptor because it's still on top of like rubble. Hell, I should get a Redemptor, smash it up, and have the Firstborn like straddle atop it. The Firstborn Dread, as if like, because the Firstborn Dread is like the coolest fucking model. Like, I love boxy Dreads so much.
Yeah. There's something about the Redemptor. There's a lot I like about the Redemptor, but something about having knees just puts me off.
I think I've heard you say this before. I love the Redemptor too. As much as I'm moaning about the Firstborn ones going away, the Redemptor is probably my favorite Primaris model because the
Brutalis.
It's
I love.
I'm a fan of the knees too. I like the knees. It's a good place to put a little transfer or whatever. So so you mentioned competitive play, and we've started to veer to AOS. We'll come to AOS in the second half of the video. So competitive play, why?
I wanted to be good at 40k. I've played infinite games of casual 40k with my friends. When 10th edition launched, me and my buddy, Sean, we played over and over and over and over and over Space Marines versus Guard, and then sometimes I would play my Necrons and my Tyranids and Oil-Out Orcs against Guard. Always lose. Demolisher Cannon Russes, I hate them.
So you mentioned this before we started. How many Demolisher Cannons does he have?
He used to run 4. Now he only runs 2, but then he replaced it with 2 Dorns.
Right, yeah.
No, and then there's also another Russ running around, the autocannon Russ.
Is it the one that when it hits you, it gives bonus AP to the rest of the army, that one?
No.
Huh. Okay.
No, that is the autocannon one, right?
I think so. It's got because I don't know. It's got like a gun on the front. I don't know if it's actually an autocannon. It might be only damage 2. Maybe it's damage 3. But
everything in his army is damage 3.
Yeah,
my Terminators, my Blade Guard veteran, my Sword Brethren, nothing is safe. Everything gets one-shotted.
I think one of the problems with because basically I cancelled on you twice. Then we had a little bit of a chat about. Like, how, you were like, I can't beat this Astral Militarum list. You got any thoughts? We're talking about it a bit in DMs. And I, honestly, my first thought was like, I don't know if this is like a really casual thing and your opponent's stomping you and not playing a very fair match. I didn't know, context-wise, you guys were like getting into comp play. I don't know why. I didn't want to get all sweaty and be like, well, this is a meta thing and this is a meta thing and stuff. But now I know we can talk that way. Also, I think the matchup is fucking bad for Marines. So... Yeah. I've played Custodians and Marines into Guard a few times at RTTs and stuff. And when they got double Rogel Dawn, because that thing puts out like, I don't know, around like 12 shots of strength 10 or 9, AP 1 or 2, damage 3. That just pops Custodies, it pops Marine elite bodies. Those guns are very good at killing those armies very specifically. So that's probably one of your first issues, is that it's not the best
for
match.
sure. And I had a game on Tuesday night against another Guard player who wasn't Sean. And it went great. I still lost, and my Marines did kind of die horribly, but it went all 5 rounds. I scored, it was 55 to 80, which is respectable.
Okay. What? So for the people at home, you're playing Templars, right?
Yeah, Black Templars.
And you're playing them actual, factual Templars?
No, I'm not doing the Righteous Crusade. Okay. I am doing Gladius in the Assault Doctrine. So advance and charge.
Sure, but you get all 3 doctrines, but the advance and charge one's the important one for your army, right?
Yeah, well, you only get one. At the start of the battle, you pick one. And so I pick the advance and charge.
I thought you get one of each of the doctrines for 1 turn.
Isn't that Space Wolf? No, that's not Space Wolf.
It might have been changed since I last played Gladius. I haven't played Gladius since the book came out, since Index. Gladius Task Force. Yeah, start your command phase, pick one of the combat doctrines. Until the start of your next command phase, that doctrine is active. You can only select one once per battle. So you can go into like Devastator Doctrine the first turn, do some shooting. Second turn, go into Assault, and then Tactical allows you to fall back at the last one.
Interesting. How have none of my opponents noticed I've been horribly cheating?
That's probably because they think you're in... Well, you're not horribly cheating, because it sounds like... Because there is a sub-faction that gives you complete advance and charge, full stop. That's the White Scars one. It's called...
the White Scars one.
But it sounds like you're using Gladius strats with the trait of the Stormlance one.
Okay, I'll have to do some double checking.
Yeah, that's not a difficult mistake to make, to be fair. Like, A, there is already one that exists, so no one's going to call you out on it if they think they're on it. And B, like, there is a lot of rules to read, so...
Was Index Gladius the way I described it? Maybe that's where the confusion came from.
When you said that, I was like, did they change it after the Index? No, Index, because it's like, you always had doctrines since like around 8th edition. Like, I think it was 8th edition book where they added doctrines. And it used to be, you start in heavy, and then you can choose to move to tactical, then move to assault, and you could stay in heavy. And that was broken as shit because everyone took like triple Leviathans and wrecked people. And then they forced people to move out of them, but it's still bad for that. There's a whole history of how they've not ever got the doctrines right.
Yeah.
I think Gladius is probably the best way it's ever been because you can do them in any order. So you've got advance and charge army-wide. So I guess you need to check out the strats because the strats for the advance and charge sub-faction aren't very good. That's the problem I've always had playing.
No.
Because I like melee Marines too, but advance and charge is amazing, but then the strats aren't very good. Have you thought about playing them as Black Templar Blood Angels?
Ooh, Black Templar Blood Angels.
It's a little bit sacrilegious.
There could definitely be
something
the wrong
colours.
I mean, they always are. And then there's something to Righteous Crusade, but Righteous Crusade is great when you get to melee, but it doesn't help you get there.
Yeah.
And then there's also something to just a 10 brick of Hammernators with 2 up, 3 up, or 4 up, or 2 up, 3 up, 5 up. Like, with all the feel no pain and all the garbage.
Templars were really good at one point. I don't know where they're at now because I haven't really paid attention to like Marines and shit. Other than
I think it was Ironstorm Spearhead where you just brought all tanks with 1 multi-melt bolted to it for free.
Oh,
and
they
so
fixed
there was
that,
no reason not to bring. Yeah, they fixed it.
Yeah, that was dumb. For people who don't know what we're talking about, for some reason, the Black Templars just get an extra multi-melter, which is still a weird thing. But then what would happen is everyone would play Black Templars their Space Marine factions. They could bring an extra multi-melter on all their tanks. And some of them were bringing like 9 tanks, right? Like 7 Gladiators and like a Whirlwind or a Redemptor or whatever, a Repulsor or whatever. So everyone was on Templars, and Templars had this high win rate. I guess Templars do have good units. So Hellbrecht's pretty fucking good. Sword Brethren are good. There is some good shit in there. I'm surprised.
Yeah, it was Templar pretending to be Imperial Fists.
Yes.
And then Games Workshop's like, please stop. Don't do that.
So you can't beat Guard. How have you played Orcs into them recently?
Not recently.
Okay. Because I'm a big
I actually
fan of
did
Orcs.
really well with my space. I like Orcs too. My Orc army, the reason I'm playing my Space Marines, well, number one is because like I'm the Space Marine guy, and my Space Marines actually have if you go to our Patreon, our top members on Patreon, their names get printed out and glued to my Space Marines.
Oh,
so
sweet.
it's like I'm playing the channel members in the games, which is a lot of fun. But my Orc army, my Necron army, like are from 5th edition high school when I built them.
Right.
So they're lacking a lot of the new cool things that Games Workshop has come out with over the years.
Yeah, I mean, they did a good job. So here's a positive for GW recently, is that the Orc book came out, and they did a good job of making a load of older stuff, like, actually viable and good. So, like, Mega Knobs, which is, like, quite an old kit at this point, they become, like, busted good. They had to fix them. And then, like, the Green Tide, which is, like, boy spam. You could bring, like, 120 boys, and they got, like, a upgrade. And it's not, you couldn't bring you could bring Beast Snagger boys, but they didn't benefit from the buff. It was only raw dog, traditional Orc boys. Both of those got nerfed pretty hard though, so it's just really ironic. So they made them work and then nerfed them. Have you seen that like commentary that people say where GW make old stuff good, so people will buy the old kits? Have you seen that like sort of like
I've seen that everywhere. It's not true.
No.
Sometimes the new thing comes out and it's a scatro. Sometimes the weirdest old thing becomes the new hotness. I don't think Games Workshop has any idea.
Like when Scarab Terminators became like really good, like last edition, they even when they started, they were not in stock. So they didn't sell out. They didn't have them. They hadn't made any, and they didn't make any for 6 months until like they got patched.
Yeah.
So they don't even have this stuff in stock. So I don't believe this tinfoil shit. GW aren't that organized, right?
At launch for Tyranid, you needed 2, if not 3 squads of Zoanthropes. They were out of stock for like 10 months.
Yes. So that's an interesting point that I've not talked about in a video yet. And I mean to make a video about it. Is that I don't think GW can keep things in stock because they haven't got.
Nope.
They haven't got the assets, resources, or tools to do so because they make so much shit. It's crazy how much stuff they make, right? Every weekend is a release of some sort of model for some game system. So they spend so much time making like little goats for like Blood Bowl or like an alien Tyranid hybrid for fucking Necromunda, and that stuff can't sell as well as like your normal lines of 8-bound or Zoanthropes or whatever. Yet they're producing all the speciality game stuff. I just don't know how that's a good model, you know?
It does seem wild. I'm trying to buy the new Pariah Nexus mission deck. It seems like they only made 25 of those, where every single person, and then every game store wants to buy 5-10 copies. Every single person in the world needs that deck today. Can't get it.
That's the weirder one, because like with the models, I guess it's because they're using what facilities they have to print all this weird stuff, right? But with Pariah Nexus and any physical paper medium stuff, that's all outsourced to China anyway. So it's not because their factories aren't big enough or they haven't. So I don't know I don't know. I still need a Pariah Nexus deck as well. I've played loads of TTS of it now in the last week or two, but I've not played any physical. Have you been playing the new mission pack?
I've been playing the new mission pack. I've got 3 games of it. I played it last night. Yeah, I played it all this week. I've been playing it on TTS, and I got 1 lucky game in person because my opponent had it.
Oh, fuck. Do you play TTS?
Yeah.
We should play.
Yeah, for sure. You want to shut this down and just play 40K?
Yeah, not right this second, but we should absolutely play. Because then, like, I could even play your friend's guard list and help you, like, get a rep in with it to try and see how you beat it, right?
That would be amazing. One thing I forgot to mention about the competitive play. So I'm actually going to be doing a 3-day 9-round tournament in October, like a real one.
Which one's that?
And so it's Dragonfall.
9 rounds. I've never even heard of such a thing. That's crazy.
Yeah. 3 rounds a day, 9 rounds. And so I'm like, I want to do that. I want to experience what that's like. And so this weekend I'm doing a little 3-round event.
Okay.
And so I've been prepping for that as like a stepping stone to snowballing my way into getting good.
That was my next question is don't do a 9-rounder if you haven't done some smaller ones first.
Yeah.
So for people at home who don't know, like, so RTTs, regional tabletop tournaments, I don't know what that stands for, are normally 3 rounds. And then you have GTs, which are the next step up. They're normally 5 to 6, depending on size of person. I've only ever done a 7-rounder, I think. I did one where it was one round the Friday evening before. I've never done a 9. I actually get quite excited.
I might be misremembering. It's called Dragonfall.
Okay. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that sounds pretty hype, and I'd love that. Because the problem with Warhammer compared to something like Magic, or have you ever played another competitive game? Did you play Yu-Gi-Oh competitively, or?
No, I've never done anything competitively.
Interesting. Okay, so with other games, when you've got like loads and loads of rounds, so like for Magic, for example, on a big GP weekend, like a long weekend, you can get like 9 rounds easily, if not like 13 rounds in, and that way you get a very definitive who has got to the very top of the top. With Warhammer, because the games take 3 hours, 3 hours and a bit if you have people go over time and gaps, you can't fit more than 3 rounds in a day, and thus over a weekend you can only fit 6 in, and thus at the end of those 6 rounds, it's not really like put the creme to the creme to the top, if you see what I mean. So you got to do all this like strength of schedule shit and stuff. It's kind of, so 9 rounds is kind of perfect, if a little bit exhausting.
Yeah, it seems a lot like an endurance exercise. Like who can keep winning while utterly exhausted.
Have you ever done 3 rounds in a row before? Is that your...
No.
Okay.
Most I've ever played is 2 games in a row.
Okay, it is a lot. It absolutely is a lot, especially like at a comp environment, because when you're playing with your mates casually, you can take your time and like it's pretty chill. In a comp environment, obviously it can be chill, but your opponent does want to kill you, so you have to like be on top of your game, you know? I'm excited for it. For you, I mean, getting into the... Because that's the thing as well. Like, I avoid talking about comp play on this podcast a bit, because when I get Mikey from Hellstorm on, he just spirals into it because he's such a little sweaty tryhard. But but like I don't want to make it a comp podcast. It's just interesting that I got you on because I thought we were going to talk about like FOMO and a bit of painting and stuff, and then I didn't know you were going to drop on me. Oh yeah, I'm trying to get into tournaments. That's sick.
Yeah. It's just I thought, because I feel like my age of like. Getting to know Warhammer phase is over. Like that beautiful time, it was in high school when it's like I had some models, my friends had some models, we would bring them over, not know the rules, and just make them fight. And honestly, that might have been the most fun I've ever had playing 40K.
Sure.
And then, getting into just friendly games where Sean brings all tanks. And then it's like, you know what? Let's just go to all the way to the other end of the spectrum. Let's go hard. Let's see what that's like.
Have you talked about it on your channel at all? How's your audience reacted to it?
Just a little bit. Mostly, I talk about the meme of I never win. Just games in general.
Because I do think there is a hostility amongst the casual crowd in Warhammer more so than there is in Magic, for example. So when I talk about tournaments sometimes, or I do a video on a cheater in a tournament, the comments are like, oh, everybody cheats. I'm like, well, that's just not true. There are cheaters, but it's not everyone. It's kind of wild.
I think there's like a middle ground between, because most people don't play. Even the people who collect and paint models, most people don't play. But I think there's the dream of like, ooh, beast snaggers are good. Well, I'm painting beast snaggers. Like, there's like, they're probably not going to play, but it's fun to know that they're painting the cool thing, the awesome thing that everyone likes right now.
So what are you going to take to the 9-rounder? What's your plan?
Space Marines.
Okay, so you're all in on learning Marines.
All in on Space Marines.
Okay.
And Blood Angels probably. Well, but
legitimately, I'm not going to push you on it right here to commit, but if you do want to get some reps on TTS, do drop me a DM, because I'm on my Discord I'm always probing my patrons. Like, anyone want to play TTS? They're all like busy. I'm like, come on, my baby's gone to bed, my wife's gone to bed. I've got 2-3 hours spare. Let's play a game. So hit me up.
For sure, yeah. That's going to be awesome.
Right, we're going on to the main topic. Okay, I guess the main topic.
Great.
Is like, how fucking bad are you at buying the latest box? Because you mentioned you bought Dominion and played like one game of it, so that I think I've got an inkling of how this goes. Of buying the latest hotness from GW, the latest box set, playing with it a little bit, or not even playing with it, maybe building it, maybe even not even finished painting it. Where do you stand on box sets and being a little GW bitch?
Yeah. Luckily, so I don't have any relationship whatsoever with Games Workshop.
Sure.
I've never gotten any email. Like, we buy all of our stuff from like friendly local game stores or eBay.
Them, or do you want to go into that conversation publicly?
They know we exist, but honestly, like, I don't think we could help them, and I don't think they could help us. So it is what it is.
I think you're a prime channel to send preview content to, because you make very good hobby guides, right? So
I suppose, but I don't think they need the advertising. And also, we would probably do it very rarely, because it's actually fairly rare we cover the new hotness. For the most part, it's like whatever I'm collecting for my armies, or whatever new game system I'm getting into.
That's something I like
It's
about your
very
channel,
rare.
by the way. I love that you put out stuff about things that you are generally obviously passionate about. So like it's like a Space Hulk video in the middle of like AOS hype season, and the video is doing well, and your fans or your viewers respond well to it. I think that's a very good. I'm blowing smoke up your ass right now, but I think that's a very good thing to see from like a hobby YouTuber or whatever.
Yeah, like if Games Workshop sent us like, what's the new thing? The
Vermintide.
Chaos Lord and Chaos Lord on Jump Pack. Well, Vermintide now, but like Chaos Lord on with Jump Pack, I'd be like, I'm not painting this. I don't have a Chaos Army. Like it would be the a solar eclipse or the stars aligning if they brought out something that I do absolutely want to cover. Like Leviathan, new Space Marines, I'm in. We got that box as soon as we could. Built that box in a week. Painted every single model nearly in that box. Been playing with those models. Man, the Ballistus Dreadnought was garbage on release. It's gotten good now, and the Infernus Marines still stink.
Here's a question for you. Do you think the Leviathan Marine part was good?
Yeah, well, no, actually. Especially because now it's the Combat Patrol, and the Combat Patrol is trash.
Yes, yeah.
With just the Leviathan bits, but yeah, Leviathan, I mean, the Ballistus Dreadnought's good. Like, you can bring
that model was
it's
sick, and I love that.
fine
Like,
for you.
I love the model. I like the rules for the most part. I like that. But like I compare it to Indomitus, right? In Indomitus, we got all these weird sculpts, like fucking skeletons and shields and shit. Like it was really cool. And then for Leviathan, I got it because I bought into the hype. And then I painted like the Terminator, because I love Terminators and Dreadnoughts are like my thing. Like I love them. So I painted the Terminators to a tabletop standard and one of them to like a high standard. Painted the Librarian. The rest of it is sprayed red and left in a box I can see from here. And even the Ballistus isn't finished. The Tyranids are meant to start a Tyranid army. I painted the Screamer Killer and then left the rest of it because again I don't think the models are that exciting. Like I don't know about Leviathan. Something about it just wasn't. I don't know. Like maybe Indomitus hit me in the honeymoon suite period where I just loved everything. But I do think the Marines in Indomitus were better.
Yeah, well, getting back to the topic of FOMO, I think Games Workshop has evolved over the years. Because if you remember in like 2016-17, no Facebook page, no YouTube channel, no nothing, just randomly knights would just appear, pre-order it. And it's like, sure, I guess. What are the rules? Don't know, pre-order it. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But now, it's like we kind of know everything beforehand. Maybe not the rules, but we see the models, we see beautiful pictures of them, what they're going to be. And then 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks later, we can pre-order it. And then 2 weeks after that, you might get it in hand. And I feel like it takes a lot of the oomph out of it. Like Vermintide, we've known everything that's in that box for quite a while now. In the horrible teaser show they started to do, where they make an hour-long YouTube video where you see brief snippets of the model. And then you have to wait for the video to end before they just dump it all on Warhammer Community and you can actually look at it.
Yeah, or it's up on Reddit first because someone's just took a screenshot of the model images and put them up and, you know, that's what
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm not immune to FOMO, but I am definitely an impulse buyer. Like I have so many other non-Games Workshop miniature war games where I'm like, oh, there's this game exists. Let me just get the core set, a couple of expansions, the special dice, the fancy ruler, and the game board. And then I'll play 2 games of it, and then move on to the next. Like that's what I really get into. But for Games Workshop,
is that like a gaming butterfly sort of thing? You just can't help yourself but move from one system to another.
Yeah, well, and I want to experience it all. Like I want to play every war game under the sun. I want to try out every different way of pushing models across a board.
That's
There've been a bunch of games where I'm like, this is fine.
I need to do more of that.
Yeah. One miniature war game that I was very pleasantly surprised by was Mantic's Dead Zone. It's their version of Kill Team, but it's on a grid system, and it has full list building, so you can take anything that they sell for their main game, which I think is called Firefight, which that's their 40K. So you can take anything, and then you build a list on points, and then you play it, and the grid system works really, really well, because you don't realize, like, not measuring is actually kind of lovely. Just, I'm going to move 2, bop, 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 boom.
Yeah, no, I can see
there's
that.
There's no possible argument, there's no possible, you can instantly look in the board and see all of the opportunities. Like I can see what moves he has available to him and he sees what moves I have available to me. And you'd think a grid system to be like, oh, we're playing fancy checkers, but it's really not. It's a really, really cool game.
How much of it did you buy into or build or paint to play your first games?
Usually the starter set of a game. And then usually expansions. Usually there's like one model that's an expansion that's like, that's the reason I'm buying all of this, is so I can paint that model and play with it. And then the core set just gets me the books and dice.
Do you play all painted or do you ever play unpainted?
I do. I paint about 500 miniatures a year. And that doesn't even feel productive on my end because there's so much. There's so much to do.
I was a very prolific fast painter initially. Like I painted so much stuff. And then my honeymoon period fell over. I had a baby. I had to like move Warhammer to the second channel, which we talked about it off video, didn't we? How I moved Warhammer out to this channel that people are watching this on now to get rid of Magic. And like a lot of things transpired to like change how my relationship with Warhammer, where it was the honeymoon, new, fresh, hot thing I got back into in COVID, right? So now I hardly paint. I think AOS is igniting me again, though. I'm getting very excited to paint all this shit that's around me right now. But that's interesting then. So you jump between games, and that's something that I keep meaning to play different stuff on TTS because it's the easiest way to like learn and play a new system. Because buying, building, and painting the models to then play physically, then to move on to another thing, just seems like such a tall ask. And I've always wondered if it's part of the reason for why GW is so monolithic. It's because other game companies, every miniature war game or skirmish game has quite a tall in compared to say a card game or a board game, right?
For sure. And I also play tons and tons of board games. But yeah, I think most people, if they're going to play a tabletop game, they want to play 40K because it's probably what their friends are going to want to play. It's one that you know is going to continue to exist. Even if it goes through edition changes and stuff that people like people hang on, where other games seem like they don't. Like X-Wing didn't really survive an edition change.
Did you ever play X-Wing?
Oh, so much X-Wing. I think I bought every single ship in the game.
Oh,
it was
fascinating.
X-Wing in like 2015 was the most perfect war game ever made.
I think I got into it in 2013, I want to say. Basically, me and a couple of friends most of us wanted to get into Warhammer but couldn't or didn't have the time or the energy, just bought heavily into X-Wing. So I bought a lot. I own a lot of ships. Not every ship in the game, but I own... yeah, like multiple. I've got like 4 X-Wings, 4 TIE Fighters, multiple Interceptors, like 2 Slave Ones, 2 Millennium Falcons and shit. Like I've got loads of stuff. So I really liked X-Wing, and now it's been the organized play is still going. For people who don't know, again, to explain to people who are listening to this on Spotify or on YouTube who have no fucking idea, basically there's no support for new stuff that's been announced, but organized play is carrying on at least for another year. And a lot of the blame is being thrown. I was thinking about making a video about this. A lot of the blame is being thrown at mismanagement by the companies that held the license and such. But I mean, there's debates there and things like that. So yeah, but at least with X-Wing though. So X-Wing as a war game. So you mentioned it was the best war game going in 2015. I want to know why. The bit I'll throw in before we start though is like, I guess the good thing about X-Wing was the miniatures were built and painted. So you bought your stuff, you got them out, and you were off to the well, not racing, it's not a racing game, but you're off to the dogfighting immediately, right? Because it doesn't have that buy-in or build thing that I'm talking about with Shatterpoint or Crisis Protocol or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what the best means, but for me, I've had the most fun with X-Wing. Like, a game can take like 30 minutes to an hour, you can get so many games in a night, you can play with so many different ships and tweak and push and pull your list, but the list building isn't super intense. You're laying cards out in front of you, upgrade cards and pilot cards. It all worked really well, where like other war games, they always have their eccentricities of like the list building is like there's list like Kill Team. Games Workshop pretends there's list building in Kill Team. There is not. No. Everyone takes the exact same list every single time.
I bounced off Kill Team really hard because like people on my Discord are like, oh, I'm quite enjoying this because we played like a little league. And I was like, I find if you're not playing one of the Kill Team special new boxes, your army is just so boring from like a agency and composition perspective. Like playing the green skin boys, you're like, you can take a goblin or an orc and one of the orcs can have a rocket launcher. That's like it. It's really, really boring in that regard.
Yeah, I actually really like Kill Team, but I take it as the lists are preset. They're set in stone, no matter what Games Workshop says. And I do think there was a very special time when Kill Team launched. If you play only Index, it's a completely different game and a lot of fun versus playing all of the bespoke Kill Teams that they've come out with lately.
Okay, was that like the launch of the new edition? Is it second or third edition?
It's technically third edition, but everyone calls it second edition.
Okay, yeah, because I bought the Compendium and I built some Kill Teams and stuff, and then I played a bit on TTS, and I don't know, it just didn't scratch the same itch. But on a similar thing about preset lists, have you played any Spearhead yet for AOS?
No.
I think it's fucking awesome. Like, I really like it.
Really?
Because Combat Patrol is shit, right? Combat Patrol is boring.
Combat Patrol sucks. It's so bad.
It's so bad. It's just 40k, but like, it's not balanced properly, and it's just boring, and it's crap. Spearhead, like, you have your preconceived decks or lists, if you will, like precons. And then like they've added this new system of like, there's a twist on there's a twist deck that changes each turn to change up the map a little bit. And then your secondary cards that you draw, I don't know if you know this, each one is a stratagem as well. So if you can't score it, you can discard it to activate the stratagem, fight first, counter charge, move an opponent's move phase. So there's like this real dynamic element to it as well. And all of that, I'm like, why is this not in the Combat Patrol version of 40k? I think it will be. I think the next time they revamp Combat Patrol, they'll add this. And I think it actually might be pretty hot. So I've been playing loads of it on TTS and trying to get all the people on my Discord who don't want to play 40k or AOS full fat. I'm like, try this and see if it bites you. So...
Oh, that's really awesome. Yeah, because we've actually played a fair bit of Combat Patrol. I actually did a Combat Patrol local tournament at my store, and it sucked because it's just like, oh, Gene Stealer Culter's so good because they use the old broken rule.
Right.
But yeah, I want to like it because it's a quick version of 40k that's easier to explain to people.
Yeah.
But it's really not. It's you almost have to make your own combat patrols.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Play baby 40k.
I'm actually wondering if like just taking the spearhead twists and like secondary objectives and sticking them into the combat patrol thing might be the way to actually play 40k. But that's
it could be.
So you're not a FOMO buyer. You're a hobby butterfly who will try every game system under the sun. Did you buy, for example, Age of Darkness? Did you buy the Horus Heresy starter box?
No, I've never gotten... I would have bought it... Wait, was the Age of Darkness the mini game or the 30k game? The mini version of 30k?
The mini game is Legion Imperialis, which I didn't
Legion Imperialis.
But Age of Darkness was the starter box for Horus Heresy 3 or 2? I don't know which edition it is. The new Horus Heresy. That box set. Because that's Marines upon Marines. Surely that's like your thing.
Yeah, I didn't get into it. I think I used to collect Death Watch in addition to my Black Templar, and I found that I didn't have enough love in my heart for a second color of Space Marines, and they weren't even a second color. They were still black. So I ended up selling that army. I think I could do 30k if like a friend of mine got really into it, but just it didn't draw me in. I already have so many Rhinos and so many Land Raiders, and to do that again wouldn't be super interesting. Also, a project I'm kind of working on behind the scenes is I have about 7 pounds of vintage retro Blood Angels, like metal figs.
Ooh.
And so if I'm going to do another Space Marine army, it's probably going to be that one before it's a very expensive 30k army of Space Marines.
Okay, so with those... slight tangent. Metal Blood Angels, right? Is your plan for them to do them as a retro, like, 2nd edition era... Goblin Green base, practically orange Marines, or...
I think what I'm going to try to do, because that was kind of my original plan, and then Nick, who runs the channel with me, he kind of talked me out of it. I think the idea is to take the retro style, but push it as far as it can possibly be pushed. So still like Goblin Green bases, but with modern like airbrush, contrast paint, oils, washes. Like, take those models and make them as good as they could ever have possibly looked.
Sure. So but they're still going to be garishly like high contrast, high saturation. Okay. No, I love that because like that's the thing I've dreamt of doing for a while. Maybe even with Eldar, like doing it with the old classic sculpts and shit and doing the brightly colored stuff. But I've never gotten around to it. So are these videos on the channel in the future?
Yeah. I don't know when they'll come out, but I've been working on it. It's been years of eBay sniping to put this army together.
I fucking love old metal models. I love them. I hate Finecast. I think GW's resin is dog shit as well. So as much as I love like Leviathans before the plastic kit came out. I own like 3 resin ones because I love them. But fuck me, were they the worst thing I've ever had to build. I hate it. The Gladius tank for the Custodes, wherever it is, that thing is like awful to build. Like mine had like a mold slip, and it was wonky, and it involved sanding. Hate all that shit. Metal models though, fucking love them. And I like it's nostalgia too because like we probably started in a similar era, right? Are you a 3rd edition baby?
No, I didn't get into it until 5th edition.
So why did you
like
collect 2011?
Because I didn't know better. They've been garbage for years.
That's not the reason I asked the question. I meant like normally I speak to another person who's into 40k and they collect Templars, and the reason is
because the 3rd edition launch box.
Yeah. So what? How come you didn't land on Ultramarines from Macragge or whatever? Like.
My very first 40k army was Necrons. I loved the Necrons, and I didn't really look at the rest of 40k. And then when I did look at the rest of 40k, I loved the Imperium, and the Gothic, and the candles, and the medieval vibes. And to me, that wasn't Space Marines. But then I found the Black Templar 5th edition codex, and you open it up and it's like, these guys don't look like Space Marines, they look like medieval knights. And so then I bought them, but I didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't buy like the Black Templar upgrade frame, so I just had Black's regular Ultramarines, but they were Black Templar to me.
So you wanted the Gothic stuff, and then when you finally got and painted them, they had no candles or Gothic stuff.
No. That stuff didn't really exist back then.
Oh, fucking hell. So the original part, I don't know why I came into this. I didn't think you'd mention comp play, so that was a thing that like surprised me. But I also just assumed that you'd be like me, where I'm a filthy little whore for like every box that GW puts out. Where I'm like, oh fuck, I think I need that. Because like my Age of Darkness, I built a lot of heresy shit and like played 2 games and never went back to it. And like Leviathan is built unpainted, and now I'm buying Vermintide on Saturday. But I'm way more into AOS for this, so I guess that brings us to that. You are in on AOS, but you've not built anything yet.
Well, I know I built a Stormcast from Dominion, and I have a full Sylvaneth army. Actually, more like 1,500 points of Sylvaneth. But I have pre-ordered Vermintide because I really like the rats. And a buddy of mine wants to play the rats. So if I build and paint the rats, because I think it'd be really fun to do in a video, and then kind of like hand it off to him, and then I work on my Sylvaneth, then we can get in a bunch of games of Age of Sigmar.
And I guess also Dominion's Sigmarine Stormcast plus Vermintide's Stormcast, I think, is over 2,000 points. I was like, that's way over.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think so. I think the character in Dominion is like almost 400 points on her own. She's like, she's insane. She's like damage 5 against monsters. I want one now. When I read her stats, it's like, I need that. Because I've always because she looks like, I'm a Blood Angels player, right? So I've always wanted a good Sanguinor, and she's like what the Sanguinor should look like, right? She looks like the good shit. So, but are you going to build up Skaven, or are you giving them away?
I'm going to build up the Skaven. I want to try to build all of those Skaven models or not build them, because building stinks to really rush it, but painting them all in one day, because I have some ideas that could super expedite the process and make the army like incredibly unique and cool. Is
this a challenge video then? Are you doing a thumbnail with you and a clock in the thumbnail?
For sure, yeah. It's gonna be a long day, but at the end of it, I'll have an army.
So here's a more content-y question then. So you get Skaventide this weekend. You build it at some point on the following week.
Yeah.
And then obviously you plan a day to paint it. When do you reckon that video will show up on your channel? Like what's that timeline look like?
We can do pretty tight turnarounds. Usually it takes like 2 days to film everything, although that's not a 24-hour challenge usually. The 24 hours one day. But then it takes about 2 or 3 days to put it together, because after I'm done with collecting all of the footage, I give it to Nick. Nick gives it to another person to like organize, and then he takes it back, gets it like roughly into shape. We look at it. I write the script of what I'm going to say for all the moments where I'm not talking directly to the camera. We record that. Like we can do a video in like 4 or 5 days.
Okay. Is that a normal operation, or is that more of a if you want a tight turnaround?
That's probably our normal operation, but we're usually working a couple of weeks out.
Sure. Because I guess the next question is, on that particular thing on Vermintide, like, are you planning to get that out the door as quickly as possible? Or is it like you just do it leisurely at your own pace? Because there's a hype cycle, right? There's a window.
You know, I don't know if there is. Like, there certainly is, like, if you're the first out the gate, you can get, like, an extra 10,000 views. Sure. But honestly, if you look at, like, every single... Because a lot of people do take the new product and then paint it as fast as they possibly can and then publish. And it sort of works, but it sort of doesn't, because it depends on if people care about that new release or not. Like, I think nobody cared about Scatros. Like, a lot of 40K right now.
What's Scatros?
40K hasn't had a lot of fun. Scatros is the Skitari stilt dude for the Adeptus Mechanicus.
That's his name? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, Stilt Sniper Man. Yeah, sure. Did that come out like months ago? Years ago? How old was that?
It did. It's not years ago. It was a couple months. It was early into...
Was it like 12
Adeptus
months
Mechanicus
ago
was one of the first codexes. I guess it is now, but that's my go-to for lame 40K releases, because it came out, it had garbage rules, it was a weird model, and no one really cared.
That model is fucking awesome. I love that model.
It's kind of cool.
That is 40k though. The AdMech should have stilt legs and everything should be dumb. Anyway, so you're saying that people don't care about that model. That's fair, but like with like Skaventide, for example, or Leviathan or Indomitus, or any of the big box sets especially, there was a window where people care about painting guides and building it. Do you feel like if you put your Skaventide painting video out, or Skaventide painting video, I don't know, 6 months from now, let's just like really push it to the extreme, like surely that'd have a negative effect on the views, right? Because
it would. We wouldn't call it Skaventide. If we were just gonna for some reason do it in 6 months, we would just call it like painting an army in a day.
Yeah, and would you avoid the word Skaven because you don't think that's not a hot word then, is it? You're like,
I would avoid the word Skaven.
Ah, yeah, okay. For people who are watching at home who wonder why I'm asking that question and making that noise, it's because in the YouTube space, there's, I assume you use this word, it's packaging, right? So like, you can make the best video in the fucking world, but if your thumbnail sucks and your title sucks and those things don't resonate with an audience or resonate with what's being looked at right now, then the video can bomb and go under, right? And by the same extension, you can make a video that's not very good, or like you've rushed together, and if the thumbnail and the title and then like the first click through and what people see connect to that thing all resonate, you can get a very good viewership off of a video that took less effort. It's like packaging is super important. So you're saying here, like 6 months from now, you don't package it as Skaven or Skaventide or Vermintide or AOS 4 or whatever. You package it as painting an army because that is a thing that people give a shit about, right?
Yeah, but I do think that Games Workshop's audience, I mean, maybe you can prove me wrong because you seem to be a FOMO guy, but Games Workshop's audience has kind of shifted because, you know, back in the supposed good old days of 40K when there was things just dropped for pre-order and people snapped them up. And it was a little bit more exciting, and I think people were really into seeing like, oh my god, Imperial Knights just came out of nowhere. I want to see somebody paint this up. But nowadays, like when we kind of know everything that's happening, Games Workshop tells us what codexes are coming out. We get almost no new things for those codexes. Mm-hmm. Like in the last year, I mean, Dark Angels, I guess Kroot and Dark Angels were the only things that happened other than one new character model.
Yeah,
and so I think there's not as much a rabid fan base for content on those things.
Like that's an interesting point. So I guess to answer your question before I ask you that another question myself off what you just said, I can't really comment on what it would have been like in the good old days because I'm a COVID. I played Warhammer when I was a kid and then fell out of it. Stayed in Magic the whole time. And then during COVID, I was like, oh, I've got disposable income. I might as well start collecting. And now I'm a fanatic, right? So I don't remember what it was like then because I came in at the end of 8th after they'd got their Twitter account back. Because originally it was like owned by some man in like, you know, all those debacles, right? All that sort of stuff. So I can't comment to that, I guess, as to whether or not it was exciting back then. I guess like, there are release schedules that get people hyped, I guess. There's an ongoing, ever constant hype machine with GW of here's the next thing, here's the next thing, here's the next thing. However, the interesting thing with them is because they have different game systems. Like right now, I don't even remember what the last 40k release was, other than books. Like I bought the sister book because I'm a systems player, but what was the last fucking model?
I guess it was the Gene Stealer cult, Big Brain lady.
Yeah, that one. Okay, yeah, it is that. How is that out yet? Actually, that model came out with the book.
I think
right?
I think it just came out for pre-order with the book.
Yeah, okay. Because I was looking back to the Warhammer community website before we came onto this call. Because it's just AOS, Necromunda, AOS, Necromunda, and it reminded me of a comment you made to me like 3 weeks ago when we started talking about doing a podcast episode. You said that you think 40k to an extent is kind of like not fell to the wayside or been left alone completely, but at the moment it's on the back burner, right? They just don't seem to be releasing anything for it or give a shit because they are in full hype mode for please play our fantasy game.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I disagree with you when you said it. But now, 3 weeks on, I'm like, fuck, they're just not announcing anything.
Yeah, well, and as someone with a show where every single Friday I go through what Games Workshop did this week, been a pretty dry spell for Games Workshop, even with the like Gene Stealer Cult and Sisters Codex and the one new model each. It's like that was one weekend.
Hold up. Sisters didn't get a new model, right? Oh no, they did. They got Jump Canoness. Sorry, yeah, I was thinking they repackaged one model, the Minister and Flamer guy, and then they've got a Black Library model that's not out yet.
Pious Vorin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those two, and then I forgot about Jump Pack Canoness. Okay, so yes, because that's the thing, right? They are releasing every book with one character.
Yeah,
that is it, and it is. Oh no, Dark Angel's got a load of shit, like you said, Kroot, I guess. It's kind of dire, really, because some armies like GSC and like Custodes were in desperate need of actually just getting some like plastic units, Well, GSC were in desperate need of a unit that isn't a character because they're all character heavy, and Custodies were just in desperate need of anything that wasn't a character. Preferably some of their resin shit going to plastic. Why is there not a plastic Telemon? But none of that. They're too busy doing orc cheerleaders in resin or whatever for Blood Bowl and Necromunda people with skeletal spider legs and stuff. It's so their focus is so strange considering how much money 40k makes. In a way, it's good because they're not always focused on the moneymaker. Maybe that's a positive.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and it's tricky, like, Space Marines never need a new model for the rest of eternity. But they should get one every now and then. And then, like, some armies, Gene Stealer called Leagues of Votann, holy cow. So a little tangent, Leagues of Votann. I don't know if you've read the Codex, but it's actually, they're surprisingly cool, like, modern sci-fi take on dwarves.
Sure.
In the Codex, it says, so in the Leagues of Votann, their society is ruled by an AI, and the AI, like, it essentially makes all of the dwarves as clones, and it makes them all unique. And in the Codex, it says every now and then the Leagues of Votann, the Votann itself is the AI. It will go mad, create itself a robot body, and go to war with the Votann. And it's like, how is that not
where
a
the
model
fuck
yet?
is the model? Yeah.
How is it?
Like,
Give me a Titan-sized dwarf.
If we really want to get into the weeds of that, I think the Leagues of Votann release was just generally very bad. Like, I feel like I felt the army looked like mini Space Marines, which I didn't like. I felt like a lot of their old flavor that people were expecting from the squats, things like helicopters, trains, all that sort of shit from like the epic days was all just missing. We got trikes, but they were hover trikes. That's okay, I guess. And then like the model line was just so lacking in variety. And then they use AI, like you said. I didn't know about the AI god robot body thing. I didn't know about that. But AI and like just robots in general are like almost absent. There's like one robot that carries a bucket for like one guy, right? Like there's so much space there, which I guess they're leaving for the future. But I did find, because I was all in on Space Dwarves too. I saw the model line and I'm like, I'm not going to buy this. There you go. I didn't FOMO that one. I was like, I'm not in on that one.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's what makes it feel like 40K is kind of like not being focused on, because when the Leagues of Votann came out, shortly after that, Necromunda got its own squats. And arguably they look better. Like there's a Dreadnought guy. Yeah. There's the little football head moon men with the floppy arms.
Yeah, they're all sick. I don't know. Well, that's another thing that we're just racing through topics, but it's cool. That's what a chat's about, right? I think that all model lines should have rules across multiple games. In the same way that AOS for a long time used a lot of Warcry shit, and it was great. They're now starting to remove those now. But like, I think 40K should have had its kill team stuff, which it did, and it should have Necromunda stuff, which it doesn't now, right? Because the Arbites were a kill team. The Arbites? Not the Arbites. Yeah. So I just think the Necromunda stuff should have 40k rules. I know there's arguments that like they have different accounts or something like for how they sell and see what sells. I don't give a shit. I just think the model should have rules because that's how you sell fucking models to people like me. You know. So yeah, those squats should have had rules.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, even if you don't want to make all of Necromunda available in 40k, because it might be weird if, like, I don't know, you have the Amazon... What's the Amazon babes? The...
Is it Clan Escher?
Escher.
Yeah.
Escher, yeah. Like, Escher in a Space Marine army would be weird, but I think you can just take those squats and make them into Votann models, too. Especially the little Dreadnought guy.
They have to be, like, regiments of renown, like in AOS, or they have to be some sort of ally auxiliary thing where you have a rule in the Imperium where you can only take one because they're on like penal leave or whatever. They're prisoners, right? The Imperium have just put them in shot collars and sent them out to die, you know? I don't know. I just think models should be playable outside of like even just the small game systems because they make all this specialist stuff and then like some of it I want to paint, but I'd like to play with it too. So yeah, I agree with you. I changed my mind over the course of 3 weeks or so since we last spoke about it.
Yeah, as someone who's super, super into 40k, it does feel like a real dry spell this year of
what was
any
the last
exciting
Marine release?
40k-ness. Leviathan? I guess Dark Angels, the Dark Angels, if you count that, then you got the Lion. I guess he came out with launch of 10th edition, so they got the...
Dante was this edition, right? The new Dante, but again, that's a faction one. What was the last non-faction release, other than like standalone shit? Was Desolation Marines the last thing that wasn't in a box set?
Desolation was in a box set at the very tail end of 9th.
What was it? Oh, with a melee Dreadnought. Was that in that box as well?
Yeah, I think it was 2 squads of Desolation and a melee Dreadnought.
It was one squad of Desolation because they were 10-man, weren't they?
They were a 10-man. We all expected the box to come with 10, and then the box came out with 5. So it's technically like two squads.
Because I wanted to have a look at my 10 there. I bought two, not box sets, but two sprues of it off eBay to get one 10-man.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway. So, what was the last Marine release?
It was Desolation Marines in 9th edition. I guess if you don't count Leviathan and the Infernus Marine, and like all of those models were sort of new except for the Captain and Terminator armor.
Okay, so the last Marine release was just Leviathan then. Which isn't, it's not terrible. They don't have to release Marines all the fucking time because they released a lot. 9th edition had a lot of Marine shit, right? Like a lot of Marine shit. So that's fine, I guess. But
I might be lying. It might be Primaris Scouts, which came out in Kill Team, and then 6 months later came out for 40k.
Again, a revamp seems a little bit like a like everything in Leviathan is like a revamp, barring the the Ballistus is a Primarisified. What was the shooty dreadnought called?
I think it's just Dreadnought.
Yeah, because you take a
las Dreadnought with missile launcher and las cannon.
So revamp of that dread, revamp of a flamer unit, which is not technically a revamp, but it doesn't feel new, right? Revamp Terminators, revamp Librarian, revamp Phobos Lieutenant, but make him special, and revamp. Was there a captain? Terminator captain. Nothing in that box was new.
No.
I guess
no new ideas.
Desolation Marines are the most unique thing we've seen in a while, and they're still kind of like fucking Devastating Marines revamped, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they're running out of ideas, but I think I do agree that 10th edition feels very dry for like all of the factions. Because like there's been like no new vehicles, has there?
Ooh. When was the last time a new vehicle dropped?
So like this is something we could have prepped for the podcast. I'm looking around the room if I bought anything.
I'm pretty sure there's no vehicle releases.
So it's just the Ballistus. Because that is a vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Holy fuck, have they not released a single vehicle in this edition? That is crazy.
I do not believe they have.
And then what was the...
because everything has gotten one character, except for Kroot and Dark Angels are the only things that got squads.
Yeah. I mean, is this a negative or is this a positive? Because there was a point in 9th where I thought there was just too much shit coming out. I could never keep up with building, painting, and playing with stuff. Like my Desolation Marines, by the time I built and painted them and played... Here's a fun fact, right? My Desolation Marines have seen more play as proxies for looters in orcs at casual games because I didn't want to buy the looters because I thought they get nerfed. They did. Then they have been seen play as Desolation Marines because by the time I built and painted them, the nerf happened. There's no point in them playing them. Or there was no point, but they were far less efficient. So, like, is there lesser release schedule a good thing for a while?
I think it might be healthy, but I think it is lame. Especially when some armies that should be getting, like, in a dry spell, I think some armies should still get love. Genestealer Cult, maybe Sisters, like Eldar, Dark Eldar, Leagues of Votann, World Eaters, Death Guard. But, like, maybe we can give Orcs, Necrons, Space Marines a break.
Yeah, the ones that have like almost 100 cheats in their codex don't need it. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. So here's something for the people at home. Here's my prediction, right? Oh, not prediction. We're talking about this. If we get to Thousand Suns and World Eaters as examples, and they get some new shit, because they're desperately in need of new stuff.
Yeah.
Then it's not so bad, right? Because they've peeled back on the stuff that doesn't need more shit. If we get to those and they get nothing or a character, it's going to be embarrassing because World Eaters they are like Votann, a scuffed release in my opinion. Like I bought some of the stuff because I love World Eaters, I love Khorne, I love the violence in the melee phase. But like, what the fuck is that with that model line? It's just like some demon dudes, some berserkers.
Do you like bringing 3 squads of 8-bound and 6 squads of berserkers like every single time? Like
it's so bad because of course as well, like they could have demon engines and they don't have a single fucking one, which like obviously like the death. So for people who don't know, again trying to unpack it for newbies who are newer than me. Death Guard, when they so Thousand Suns got their launch and they didn't get any demon engines if I'm recalling correctly, but they got like some demons from AOS that still fit in with them, like the Mutalith Vortex Beast, which is technically not a demon, I think, if you actually look at its keywords. And then Death Guard came along, they're like, oh, here's like a Plague Burst Crawler, a Mutalith, not Mutalith, the little drone thing and the flying drone thing, all that shit. I was like, okay, they're learning, demon engines.
Yeah.
We get to World Eaters, literally nothing. There's demon men, and they're just the same kit in 2 different modes. And then there's such easy fucking wins, like the Juggernauts. They could put men on Juggernauts. We got a character on a Juggernaut, and no unit on a Juggernaut. So even going into this edition that they knew had the leader mechanic, I'm getting very angry now. That fucking unit can't lead anything. So I assume in the new codex they've got to give us Chaos Berserkers on Juggernauts to give them something to lead. They've got to.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. So
yeah. And then it also kind of feels lame that the release is always tied to the new codex. I guess as a way to make people feel like they should buy the codex because, I don't know if people know this, but the rules are available if you don't necessarily want to buy a book.
Sure.
But if you want to be the first person playing the Gene Stealer cult lady with a big brain, you buy the book, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like leaks exist. I should say this. The reason that GW don't want to work with me is because one of them once saw me say, I think once leaks are out there, we should acknowledge them because it's bad for like consumers to ignore like information around budget and stuff. And that's GW do not want to talk to me. They've ghosted me twice over this. It's funny because I get comments on this podcast saying I'm a shill for saying positive things. And then I'm like ghosted by them. I guess so, but they did go through a phase where they didn't do that, right? Like at the end of 8th, they did all like the Psychic Awakening stuff. That introduced new models each time. And then in 9th, did we have any releases that weren't tied to codexes? I guess.
Only things that came out in Kill Team. So Scouts and Striking Scorpions.
But that's not true. Marines always get shit. So in 9th, I say always, not in 10th, but in 9th, the Ballistic Dreadnought and the Desolation Marines dropped. Was that in 10th?
It was very tail end of 9th.
Yeah, so they dropped in a box set, right? So you got new stuff in a box set. So Marines get stuff in box sets all the time, but everyone else gets fucked. I kind of want them to get through all the 10th codexes, drop them with hopefully more than just characters, and then we start to have a Psychic Awakening period or some sort of expansion period where we can keep the edition around for a bit longer. I don't want them to drop all the codexes, and as soon as the Guard one drops at the end, we're like, right, here's 11th, because that is just painful, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, here's something you'd probably know about. So, 10th edition dropped, everything got one index attachment. Some things are still, like half the armies are still on their one index attachment, and it's getting boring. Age of Sigmar 4.0, every army has multiple detachment-like army rules, right?
Yeah, so we just, so again, to explain for people who don't follow AOS, for example, Index Hammer, which you might have heard from 40k, is where they reset everything and give us like the rules as PDFs for free. Oh my God, what a socialist utopia we live in, right? Age of Sigmar, who there's an argument their rules writers are a bit better. I've seen this quite a bit. Each index is dropped with 4. You get an army trait, and then you get your detachment thing that you can pick, one of 4 things. In Index 40k, everything was set to one thing with 6 stratagems, I guess is the argument. In Index AOS, everyone's got 4 things, and then there's also some stratagem stuff a little bit sprinkled in. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's like variety and ways to approach the game beyond what they did with 40k. I don't know why.
Yeah, right off the bat, you get 4 ways to play. Honestly, the thing that has made me angriest with 10th edition is why doesn't every army get 8 detachments like Space Marines? Like Gene Stealer Cult get 5, Sisters got 4.
Yeah, 4.
Custodies got 4. Why? Just sit there for the rest of the day. Come up with one more and slap it in there.
The counter argument that it's harder to balance, right?
I don't care.
You're getting into
they have the
now.
money and the resources to figure it out.
I mean, I would expect the $1 billion company to have some playtesting a bit to do it. Yeah, exactly. But as a comp player now, as a newly comped player, surely you want the game to be balanced, right? Because normally when they introduce too many detachments, well, it's fucked anyway. When you get 4 detachments, one is normally clearly the better one. Like it's not, you know.
Well, yeah. Well, Space Marines have access to 19, but only 4 of them are good. Like, there's ways.
How many do they actually have? It's 6 in the Codex and then 1.
I feel like 3. I counted.
Black Templar,
and if you count in
Dark
all
Angel,
of the different colors, Space Wolves.
There's 4 sub-faction ones and 5 or 10. They have 10, I think. Someone comment down below if I got that right off the top of my head, because I'm not 100% sure. I personally love it when they do variety and that sort of thing. Like the Orcs got, was it 6? And all of them are at least mildly playable, and all of them play into different strengths in the army. So you bought the book or just looked at it on Wikipedia or whatever, and you immediately had, like, whatever you own had some way of being applied and playable, which I think is really good, and I'm glad that happened. It's the same with, like, list building now, where, like, you don't have to take, like, Battle Line or whatever the fuck they called it. No, Battle Line. Like, Force org charts and attachment rules can sometimes make it that when the new ones come out, your old army is invalid. There's been situations in the past, right, where you've got 2,000 points of an army, it's no longer playable. That is a thing that they should try to avoid. However, with their like up until recently packed release schedule, they just keep giving us new toys. So letting everyone play with their toys is actually maybe counterintuitive towards game design, balancing, and
Yeah, and then there's some things like Tau. Tau is a proper army with tons of units and a full codex, 4 detachments, and one of them is Kroot. So really 3 detachments.
yeah. Yeah. Did you play much in 8th when you could split between the detachments you could get? And at the beginning of 9th as well.
I did a little.
Yeah.
I played a lot of early 8th in index 8th.
Okay. I did not play in that time. That was just I came in towards the back third of 8th. So I didn't know about the indexes. I hadn't seen indexes until we got to the new indexes. But did you ever play where you'd split across things? You'd have like, I don't think you could do it in Marines, but like with Sisters, for example, I had half my army was, all the melee units were Bloody Rose, and all the shooting units were Argent Shroud. So I'd have like 2 different sub-factions in my army. It was kind of stupid. Did you ever play in that period?
Mm-hmm. No, I think I might have missed exactly your beginning because I was in college like midway through 8th, and I was busy, and then I didn't really pick it. I kind of skipped 9th, and I picked it back up at 10th with Leviathan, because before that I was just playing endless games of Kill Team.
Wait, when did you start doing videos?
Technically in like very early high school, and then we took a little break, and then a little bit more in college, and then we took a break, and then we jumped back to making videos during COVID, like 2020.
Right, okay. So that's probably why I became familiar with you, because I got into Warhammer then, and then I come across all the people that are coming up. So you start making videos then, so you, Midwinter Minis, like all these people that start making videos during COVID are like the Warhammer YouTubers that I watched, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, I think at that point, I guess what we've done is like moan about things. Have we only moaned? Have we said anything positive?
Yeah, complaining. Nothing more fun.
Oh, I love complaining, but was there a positive? I guess I was arguing the release schedule was kind of a positive because you don't have that. I guess that's the final point. Let's close on that. Is that it is quite nice sometimes to not have to give a shit about what they're putting out. So what I have done is get so into AOS now that I'm all over the rules that just dropped before this call started. I was reading the death codexes and stuff. So I'm like deeply interested in that. It is nice when they put out Necromunda stuff and I have to care about it. Because like in Magic, because I'm so into all the formats, everything kind of matters and it's exhausting because they release fucking shit all the time. It's a little bit too much. Even for someone whose job is to report on it, it's a bit too much. So I think GW calming down a little bit on 40k is not necessarily a bad thing because you haven't got all this FOMO, buy this now, don't miss out, keep up bullshit, you know?
I would definitely say it's healthy. It's not the most fun that the releases have ever been, but I do think it's healthy. I think 10th edition feels the best. I mean, I remember because the last time I was really playing was 6th and 7th, the worst editions of Warhammer that have ever existed. So 10th edition is a real game that Games Workshop is really trying on.
I guess it also depends on what you play as well. Because if we're saying it's fine, right? Because we don't have to keep up all this shit. But I guess we've got multiple armies that we care about. If you only play Custodes, you're probably pretty pissed that 2 editions have passed now and all you've got is 2 characters. Yeah. And there's a lingering fear that that they might remove the Forge World stuff. They probably won't for Custodes, but there's always that chance, as we've seen now. So I guess if you're a one army kind of person, you might be pretty fucking miserable right now.
Yeah, if you're just a World Eaters player and you're like, Angron was a long time ago. What are you doing for me? What have you done for me lately?
I'd feel so bad for someone getting into 40k and be like, wait, do all the armies only have 3 sheets? And you're like, no, that's just you guys, I'm afraid. Wait, guys, I bought all this secondhand World Eater stuff on eBay, but none of it's legal anymore. Bikes, jump packs, like all that stuff that got removed. And you're like, yeah, that's, yeah, get fucked, I guess. Like, what can you do? Right. Thank you for coming on to moan about shit.
Thank you for having me.
If people want to check out Eons of Battle, I'll have links in the description below. If you feel like we moaned too much, tell us in the comments. If you agreed with us, tell us in the comments. Just comment. Engagement's good, kinda. Comments don't matter as much as they used to on YouTube. I don't fucking know. I just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that shit. And I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.